Welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast, where art and wellness collide. I'm your host, Ashley, and I am so excited to connect with you today. Now, let's jump into today's episode, ready to rock and with an open heart.
I'm ready yet?
Well, hi and welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie. Today we are here with Gemma Ellenby. She is an incredible artist and a master of manifestation. Thank you so much for being here today, Gemma. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So we met a few years ago. I think I came to you to do body tuning. And I think that was the first time we met. And
yes, this is it. Yes.
It was, honestly, for me, it was such a wonderful experience. And I am, a friendship formed out of it. And I felt right from that moment that we were kindred spirits. And I honestly, I'm happy that this 4 or 5, whatever, how many years later, that we're here getting to chat about all the wonderful things that you do. Because trust me, listeners, when I say this is an incredible woman, 100%.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so lovely.
So let's get right into it. What came first, art or manifestation?
So for me, I've always been really creative. I've always had a creative mindset, and my art was what helped me express myself and heal myself. So that was first. And then because I became so engrossed in the art, it led into me learning about healing, which again then led me to manifestation. And I've just continued doing both alongside one another and now conjoining the two, which has been such a lovely experience. So yes, it's definitely the art that came first, and a huge passion. But it's just grown with the manifestation, and I find that they've gone hand in hand. Like the manifestation has given me the tools to express my art in the way I want to, as well as myself and being as authentic as I can.
Do you think that, you do primarily painting, right?
Yes.
Do you think, and I mean, how long have you been painting? Because I'm like, I can't paint anywhere near like you can. You're amazing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So I painted in school. I went to college. It's basically been something I've done my whole entire life. I've always expressed myself. When I was younger, I used to collect snails and I used to paint on their shells and then let them be on their merry way.
Really?
I would just occasionally see it going up a tree in a bush, a little snail, and I'd be like, oh, I've met that snail before. So it's something that I've done and always will do for my entire life. And it's just something that I've just done my whole life. I don't remember a time where I didn't paint, and I just love it.
I love
saying
that
too. There was a period of about 2 to 3 years where I didn't paint. I'm quite personal with my painting, so I never shared my painting for many years.
Right.
I was actually married with my husband for 4 years, and he had never seen a painting. And then when we went into lockdown, I couldn't hide this expression I had and these needs, so I did it within lockdown. And one day he came in and he was like, where does that painting come from? And I was like, I've just painted it today. And he was like, you paint? Yeah, I paint. And he was like, wow, I didn't know you paint. You need to share this. And that's kind of where it came from. So
I know for me personally, I've always, like you with painting, for me, it's been writing, right? Since I was like, since I could hold a pencil, since I could write words, that's what it's always been for me. So I love hearing it from like other perspectives, and that's just, it's like your comfort zone. It's where you go to
Yeah.
learn about yourself and process the world
Yeah.
and everything around you,
Yeah.
heal from your pain,
Yeah.
anything that you
That's
need to
it.
work through.
Yeah, and I'm sure you find the same. Like when I paint, I express and I heal and I feel these energy, and that's how it came hand in hand with the manifestation, because it's very much about vibration and energies and frequencies. And I was like, I get this. And I used to look at particular paintings and just be taken back to certain stages of my life and how I was in that time. And I almost feel it, that energy, when I walk into a room and I've got a particular painting somewhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really magical.
And so, do you keep all your paintings in the house? Well, not all of them, but do you have you decorated your
Yeah,
home with a
I
lot?
quite, yeah, I mean, I've got quite a few. There's some that I do and obviously I sell, and then some that I get prints and I sell. Um, and there's some that I do and I feel reluctant to sell because they're so personal to me, and I almost have to keep them for a period of time until I've sort of, if I feel they're ready to move on and that I've had my time with them, I will move them on. And just recently I did a piece, and a lady, she bought this piece from me, and I was so attached to it, but I just spoke to her, and she kind of explained to me some things, and it just felt like this painting was right for her, and how what I'd expressed in it and the energy I put into it. And when I do my paintings, I write right before I paint, so I do little
Okay.
words underneath of energy and positive affirmations, and I put all that in there and then I paint over it, so it's all positive and good energy and the things that I want to sort of reap out of a piece of art, so that it just makes people feel amazing,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, your paintings do make people feel amazing. When did you, so
Oh,
you've got
thank you.
Ellenby art on Instagram,
Yes.
and you have a
Yes.
website for it too, right? Or am I
Oh,
wrong?
so I have a Facebook
Oh,
but not a
okay.
website.
Okay, gotcha. They, because when was it that you started selling them? Was it in like 21 or
Yeah,
2020?
it was. So it was. Yeah, it was about 2020 when I didn't start to sell them. People started to say that they liked them, and could I get a copy, or could you do me one? And it kind of came from that angle. So I started to share them, and then people started asking if they could buy them. And also some people, once they got wind that they were for sale, then they started sending photos of themselves and their animals, and can I do a twist on this, what can you do with this? And I'm like, yeah, I can definitely, what I feel from that photo I'll do.
It's it's true, and I mean, I just remember because it seemed to kind of just explode once you started sharing. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really, it was very exciting because people just
Yeah.
just loved it. I mean, some of
Yeah.
the subject matter, you know, nudes,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
We've got
Yeah.
animals, you know, we had like plants and things like that, right? Like kind of
Yeah.
landscape
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you did some for me, and they were amazing, but
Yeah.
they were part of a huge healing process for me too. Um,
Yeah.
it was huge to get those done, and I just think like, I don't know, they're powerful, and
Yeah.
they're just so, I don't know, I can see why people connected so quickly with them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because, I just think that, there's so many different forms of creating things. But I think when you use your hands and you put something together, or like a piece of writing, like you say, it's from a provoked feeling, and I think that's the key, and that's where the energy comes and where people connect with them, and it's really nice, and I feel really privileged to have that, and for somebody to say, right, this is me can you do an interpretation of that? And I take it really seriously because I want them to know that they're beautiful just as they are, you know. This is
Yeah.
just an expression of how I'm seeing them. And I hope that they connect with it. And if they do, it's just like perfect. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's
Have
really nice.
I'm sure you've heard
Yeah.
from other people too that the work that you've done for them, uh, it has been part of their journey as well, with self
Yeah.
acceptance
Mm.
and self love. I think it's probably been
Yeah.
a huge
Uh,
transformation.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had one client who approached me and he said, and it wasn't about his body, it wasn't a nude, it was actually his pets. And he said, could you do a picture of this for me? And it was a picture of his two dogs. And I said, yeah, of course, I'm more than happy. And I done the two dogs, and then I brought the canvas to him because he didn't live too far from me. And he when he opened the door, he was just so emotional about it. And what I didn't realize is actually one of the dogs had passed.
Oh,
And he said, when I see that painting, he said, from the photo you gave, the photo seems quite flat. He was like, but the painting, it's like I'm seeing like a new picture of my dog that I've
oh,
never seen. He said, I know that sounds silly because it is a new picture of my dog. He said, but it's like a new version of him, like a piece of him that I've been given again that I didn't get and that I haven't had for such a long time. It's like you've brought him to life one more time for me to see. And that just really hit me. Like it was huge because I just thought that's powerful. And I took that and I thought to myself, I want that to be portrayed in every piece I do. If I do a landscape, I want to give that landscape the benefit of the doubt where they know that I am seeing them, like I'm seeing every bit of it. And I know it's a landscape, and I know obviously it's not to some a living or breathing thing, even though it's a living thing. But for me, it is because I'm bringing something to life.
yeah, you absolutely are. And I
Mm,
mean, a landscape
yeah.
too, it is living and breathing.
Mm.
Like, even if
Yeah,
people
yeah.
don't see it that way, it is. It's all part of the life
Yeah,
force, right? But
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you have
and
to,
it's all connected. It's like in my view, I feel it's all connected. So
it truly, truly is. Do you think that, you're talking about the energy that the paintings give off and painting authentically, right? Showing up
yeah,
as yourself. Do you think
mm.
that if you didn't put that intention, that emotion behind it, have that connection, do you think people would still love it as much?
um, I mean, I imagine. I imagine they might, but one thing I will know is for me, it gives me purpose, and that's what keeps me motivated.
Right.
So even if it didn't, as long as I'm doing the painting justice, and as long as I'm putting everything I have into that piece, then if no one likes it, it's okay
Yeah.
because I do, and I did it from a real honest place, and I will. I'm never gonna do something just to satisfy somebody
Right.
because it wouldn't be authentic. And there's many artists that never had a painting sell ever, and their work is absolutely stunning. And then years later, they pass away, and their pieces come to life sometime and sell, and it's a legacy. And I just think it's something that I just want to leave and know that it's a piece of me left behind for people to see.
Yeah. It's so true. I guess I think about like all the AI art coming out, and
Yeah,
I see some of it
yeah,
and I'm like, that is so cool, but it's
yeah,
it's cool, but there's no
yeah,
connection to it. I think art
yeah,
should make you feel something. Art should move you, and it doesn't matter if that's in this light and magical kind of way, or
yeah,
if it makes
yeah,
you angry or if it makes you sad. But it should make you
yeah,
feel something. And I find a lot of that AI
yeah,
art. No, I
yeah,
think people
yeah.
can sense that there's not really that human quality behind it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the quote exactly, but I know there is one out there and it says something along the lines of art will unsettle the settled and calm the unsettled. And I think there's an element of truth in that. And I love that because I just think it shows that there is healing of some type or some form of emotion that's been provoked, as you say.
Yeah, it's 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 definitely true. I'm like, I really like that quote, even if it's not 100% accurate. I
Yeah.
really like that. It's
It's something that when I see that I was like, that makes so much sense because we all have our own troubles growing up and things that we might find at war with ourselves and stories that we tell ourselves. But when I paint, I'm present. When I paint, I'm there in that moment, and I'm aware that I'm just lost in that piece of art, and the healing that comes from that and the calmness that I get from that is just it's just magical. It's something I can't even explain.
I love that so much. So,
Mm.
do you want to tell
Yeah.
me about how, I think you've used art as a healing piece, and
Yeah.
so when you don't have to tell us, of course, everything that you were going through or whatever, but
Yeah.
you've used it for healing. And how
Yes.
has that, how did it all come to leading you towards manifestation?
So when I started doing my art, and when I say start, because I had that time where I was a bit kept it on the low, but when I started to share my art
Yeah.
with the public and people around me, it was like, and I don't like to live on external validation because for me that's actually not important. But it was something that for once I was a bit like, oh, I feel like I'm being seen a little bit, and people were seeing me for me,
Yeah.
and I kept that really personal. And it was a bit of a funny journey to go on because I didn't know if I quite liked that or if I did.
Right.
But then when I started to do it, I really wanted to express the fact that it was a healing process, and I wanted others to be aware of it. So I started looking down avenues of, how to heal, and I got come across this book, and I was kind of looking at things like art and that, and I did this painting once, and what I painted, I basically attracted in my life, and I was a bit like, wow, and I put so much energy into this particular picture. It was crazy, and I thought that's so mad. I've just painted this lady, and she was stunning, like this woman, and I didn't know where I'd seen her or if I'd seen her.
Right.
And I put it up on my social media, and instantly it sold. And I was like, wow, it's gone. That's crazy. And then that night I went out in London, and I was at a bar,
Yeah.
and this woman turns around and it's her. And I
Oh.
was like, my God, I have literally painted this woman. And I pulled my phone out and I said, look at this piece of art. And she was like, oh my God, what, that's me. And we were having this, we could, and in the end, she ended up sitting with me and my husband, and just her and her partner were just talking, and they was like, this is just the freakiest thing, but it was beautiful, it
Yeah.
was lovely. And then I started looking into, can you attract and stuff like that, and then that's where it kind of led for me. I was like, right, I mean, and I'd already touched on manifestation many years prior,
Right.
but it didn't seem to work for me. So I touched on it many years prior. Somebody said about this book, and I sort of touched on it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I remember years ago I was given that book, The Secret,
Secret.
and this is what I'm learning about now.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And I think I've actually realised there's some truth in it. So at that stage in my life when I was given that book, I was
Yeah.
in a really dark place in the sense that I'd been with somebody previous to my husband, and we lived in London, and the relationship stopped. I went from a lovely place in London, a good job, to no job, moving back home living in a box room, everything piled up in boxes. And I was like, what's going on? And this book was given to me. And I remember reading a bit of it and being like, right, okay, I'll give it a go. And then I didn't continue. And then when I was looking at, when come forward to this day, when I started looking at can you attract, blah, 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 it kind of dinged in my brain. I was like, okay. So I started learning more about manifestation.
Right.
And yeah, it was just crazy. It just went from there. I just realized that you can attract anything you want in your life. You can literally attract anything, good or bad.
Yes. And so where, you know, where do you start with it? Like, so did you use The Secret as your kind of jumping off point after all those years, or
Yeah, so I took a part of The Secret, and it explains about doing a vision board.
yeah.
And I thought to myself, with the healing, I don't need anything. I'm not looking for things, or um I didn't feel I particularly needed a house, even though I probably could have done with a house at the time, but that wasn't what I needed.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I was looking for happiness. I was looking for peace. So I created a vision board, and I decided to focus on the feeling I wanted and not the
Right.
things.
Yes.
So I did loads and loads of tear outs of smiles in magazines, and I wrote down all these positive words about being at peace and of having balance and harmony. And I'd done this big vision board, and I'd done that day, and 6 months later my whole life just flipped. I was attracting people around me that were making me happy. At the time I met my husband, and he was the funniest person I'd ever met, and I just found myself constantly laughing, and I thought, well, this is crazy, because I put so many smiles on my vision board, and it just feels like I've attracted this. But what I realized was the vision board is the starting point to realize what it is you want, or what you
Yes.
want to feel. It's the process that creates it. It's the feeling that attracts it. So the feeling is what ups your vibration and then aligns with that vibration with something else. So if you want something, you have to align with it to attract it. And so, yeah, so that for me was definitely the starting point. It was just finding out, actually, what do I want? And I just wanted to feel happy and at peace.
Right. And I think, truthfully, I think that's what a lot of people do want out of life in general, right?
Yeah,
If you really nail,
yeah,
bring it back to basics, that's the biggest thing that
yeah,
people want is happiness.
yeah,
Just, just
absolutely.
need 1 second. I'm going to edit everything,
No
but
problem.
I like, oh, my
Yeah.
nose is running.
Well, I hope you do, because I felt like I waffled so
No.
much on that.
Oh, you did not at all. Oh, God. It's like, oh, I've just been really stuffed up for like 2 weeks. And
Bless
so
you.
so I just kind of felt my nose running there. I was like, oh no.
Uh,
Okay.
grab a tissue.
um, I'm just going to put a mark on the time so I know without looking for it. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so you started with smiles and your vision board.
yeah.
And so, like, what happened after that? Like, you're laughing
So,
all the time. You've got this wonderful
yeah,
man in your life.
and I'd also removed myself from a really toxic environment and a toxic person and toxic people that we connected with together, and toxic habits, and not feeling any self-respect for myself, and allowing things to unfold that I started to just naturally not do, because I started to realize that my self-worth, and I started to realize that this particular person makes me feel good and happy and makes me smile, and I'm going to go this place because it's fresh and new, and it was just clean. And that's the thing, when something becomes, you know for example, like if I use your house, if it becomes too cluttered, sometimes just decluttering changes the energy, opening the windows, just changing it, moving things around, it's just completely changes the energy of the room.
Yes.
um And for me, it's the same. It's the same for my environment. So it's like the scenario they say with the plant. You know, if the plant doesn't grow, you don't throw the plant away. You change the soil. You start finding a better place for it so that
Yeah.
it can grow in its environment. And I was just in the wrong environment. I wasn't with the right person. I wasn't, because of that. My energy was low, and I was bringing people into my life, and it was all me. It was all me doing that. And I think that's the biggest factor. People who are going through struggles, they don't tend to realize that actually it is them that's creating the situation, not because they want that situation, but because maybe they don't realize their self-worth,
Yeah.
because their self-esteem has been damaged so much, or they're living in a belief that this is how things should be, habits that should continue because they've lived that their whole life. But it's just about reprogramming yourself and rewiring, and doing affirmations so that you tell yourself what you're worth on a daily basis, so that you start to actually realize that this is true, and then it seeps into your subconscious mind,
Yeah.
and then your brain believes it. And because your subconscious mind literally only takes in information that is repetition. So if you say these things over and over again, it believes it. And whether you say, I'm awful, I'm this, I'm terrible, I feel fat, my hair's horrible, blah, 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 your brain's going to believe that if you continue to say it. But
Yeah.
if you say to yourself, I want to lose weight and I'm going to get there, I'm not there yet, but I will get there,
Yeah.
you've got a much better chance of getting there.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
everything we do and say, we are attracting. So if we don't, if we don't make ourselves conscious about what we're doing and saying and seeing and witnessing and hanging out with, we're never going to get the life we want.
Yeah.
We've got to be brutal
And I think it's
to get the
like
life we want.
being honest with yourself is really
Yes.
tough. Honesty with yourself, with your
Yeah.
situation, with the people around
Mm.
you, everything like that,
Yeah.
it's, and I also think too that once you start saying these things, getting them deeply ingrained, right? Like, I
Hmm.
am awesome, whatever the case may be for the
Yeah.
day, then your actions start to line up with those feelings too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What a lot of people don't realize as well, that manifestation is aligned and linked with healing. It's really like the bow and arrow metaphor. You technically have to pull back, strip back before you can fly forward. Because if you don't find out what your limited beliefs are, if you don't find out what your traumas are or what you can do to heal, once you do that, you're just going to fly forward, just naturally, instinctively, um, without even actually being aware. Like I always say, it's like at the start when I did start manifesting, it was so difficult because it was like I was so programmed to be negative. I was so programmed to be, oh, that always happens to me.
Right.
I had limited beliefs about money, because I was brought up money doesn't grow on trees and things like that. So I had all these limited beliefs that were constantly being created and attracted into my life. And then when I started to say, well, blah, blah, there was part of me that just didn't lay right. It just didn't settle, and I was like, oh, it doesn't sound right. But then years later, I just kept at it. And now, for me, I don't see money as something that's important. I see it as a product that we use.
Yeah.
It's so like it's worthless to me. So I just use it. So because it's like, and I don't want to say that in a, it's worthless, because obviously money is important
Yes.
to a degree, but it's a case of I use it. I don't need it.
Right.
I choose to use that. So yeah, and it's like there's a process, and I will use that for this, and it will come. So yeah, it's for me, it's just always seems to have worked. And with health, it's made me more healthy, physically, mentally, just in every way.
So how what was I going to say here? There's just so many exciting things. Um, so when we're talking about like stripping back, what
Yeah.
what would you suggest just for somebody to start with to strip everything back?
Okay. So I would suggest when you feel that you're procrastinating or you're not showing up for yourself, or you find yourself disappointed in yourself, or angry, or upset, whatever what we call a low frequency vibe,
Yeah,
fearful, going through grief, when all of that's happening, instead of trying to avoid that feeling, sit in it, take breaths. Ask yourself when that's happening, and when we have these voices in our head saying, oh, I'm just useless, I'm this, say to catch it, catch that voice and say, do you know what? I'm not, and I've got this, and I'm going to be okay, and I will get through this, and just you'll just switch. You literally switch, and so I used to call them like. I don't use it so much now because I find I don't need to because it's very rarely that I get negative thoughts in my mind.
yeah,
But I used to call them ants and anti-negative taunts that would sit on my shoulders, and I used to, brush off these ants. They're not going to tell me what I am capable of or why I did this. And I used to think to myself like, no, you're just silly little ants. Like, go away. And it was just I had to think of something creative to physically brush away so that I knew I was taking control,
right.
and it would just seem to work for me. And the same like when I get into the shower or the bath, I see that as washing away any negativity of that day. Should there be any, should I have been surrounded by any, I just wash it away.
Yeah.
When it goes down the drain, I'm like, see you. And it's like a visual feeling. It's a strange thing to explain, but it's how I
No,
physically
I think it makes
trick
sense.
trick I
I,
trick my subconscious mind into thinking what it is. So because I believe it,
yeah.
my conscious mind believes it, and therefore I attract better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, even
Yeah,
like in some of the energy work that I do and things like that, there's a lot of
yeah,
flicking things,
yeah,
throwing things in the fire. You visualize that fire,
yeah,
off it goes.
yeah,
And
yeah,
same with doing like the body tunings. Kind of flick the
yeah,
forks and things like that. Uh,
yeah,
you know, visualization for surrounding yourself in white cleansing light, same sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And I love that
absolutely.
physical the shower, and it makes
Yeah,
perfect sense. I think that's such a
yeah,
cool place, especially if you have trouble visualizing, then you have that physical washing it away,
yeah.
right? I love that.
And it's quite hypnotic in the shower, like you calming the water. The water makes you calm, so it's easier to start to visualize. When I was speaking to a lady that was interested in the manifestation, it's funny because she sent me some lovely feedback, and she said, after speaking with you and you explaining about the shower and washing away any negative situations that may have occurred, she said, I had to text you because she said, literally, I had this situation with my partner. We had this heated conversation. She said, and usually I would get in the shower after a situation like that, come out, and I'd be angry. She said, and I sat myself in the shower and I allowed the water to run down me, and I just visualized in that moment that everything was going to be okay, and that it's not as big as what I'm seeing it, and that I'm washing it all away. And she said, I came out of the shower and something that had never happened before happened. She said, my partner approached me and said, listen, I don't want to row. It's not big enough to be round about this. And she
Oh,
said, that had never happened. She said, but I felt like, wow. Like, and she said, even when I walked out of the shower, I felt different. She said, so it's like it put me in a zone of that's what I attracted. And it's crazy because there's so many different scenarios. I can go on about this forever. So, when people like people, so they fancy someone, and it's like you want to attract them, right?
yeah,
But with manifestation, it's about attract, don't chase.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people find this scenario happens to them. They meet somebody and they're a little bit unsure, and then that person really likes them.
Right.
So they're on them kind of thing. And then as soon as that other individual starts to like them back, they feel a shift in their energy. And they're like, hold on a second, what's going on here? There's a shift in this energy. And I've had so many people, like they'll contact me and they say, what am I doing wrong? And they're like, I've done this. I've done every tool in the book. I know that, for example, men like to chase a lot of the time. So I've not texted, I've not rang, I've not messaged him on social media. I've not even liked a post. And I'm like, okay, but that's fine. You may not have done those things, but it isn't about what you're physically doing. It's about the energy. And you could be silently chasing him and he will feel that energy. So you may not be doing all those things. You may not be touching his social media in any way. You may not be texting or ringing him, but what he will be feeling is you constantly checking your phone. That energy.
Mm-hmm.
He'll know you're watching his stories without watching his stories. And I said, it's the energy. You need to have the self-worth. If he doesn't give you the respect you deserve, take a step back, ground yourself, tell yourself, I'm worth more than this, and watch that energy change again. And that sometimes we have to do in relationships. We have to pull ourselves back and we have to ground ourselves. And when we don't and we lose track of that and we start chasing and chasing, we're just going to push them away because it's a fear of losing them. And that's a low vibration. And
Yeah.
that is exactly how you lose what you want.
Yep, that's for sure. It's so true.
Yeah.
I'm a feng shui practitioner as well, right? And
Yeah.
it's one of the
Oh,
big
yes. Yeah.
things that we talk about. Obviously, the decluttering. I could talk for years about decluttering
Yeah.
and changing your whole energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but very interesting on the manifestation for a partner, whether a man, a woman, whatever. Make
Yeah.
space in your closet. You're
Yes.
making space in your life for somebody. Get a pair of
Yeah.
slippers for them. Put a little bathrobe.
Yeah.
They may not physically be
Yeah.
there, but it puts
Yeah.
it out there that you are emotionally ready. That
Yeah. Yeah.
you're making room. You're allowing this in.
Absolutely.
And I think
You
it's
may, yeah.
huge. It's huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You might be somebody that sleeps in the middle of the bed. You've not got space for them. So you need to choose a side, give
Yep.
them a side. It's all those sorts of things, isn't it?
It's so true. And yeah,
Mm.
it's amazing though, because seeing these things work over and over
Yeah.
again for people. You're like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know the particular religion, but I know there is a particular religion where family members come together and they bring an empty suitcase, and they talk about on the new year what holiday they want that year, and everyone chooses a country and they have their empty suitcase, but because it's empty and they've put that energy into that suitcase, that holiday gets booked and that holiday happens, and
Oh,
it's very unusual if it doesn't. And I think that's a lovely kind of scenario as well. So
yeah. I know
see, he wants a holiday.
yeah, I think the dog is ready for a holiday. Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
ready for a
That's it.
holiday. Maybe that's what we need
Oh,
to
me
do,
too.
is
Yeah.
just like pull the suitcase
Yeah.
down,
Get the cases out.
right?
That's it.
I
That's
think that's
it.
so
Yeah.
good. And so,
Yeah.
yes, you have, you've got your partner, you've got obviously a very positive, happy mindset in life. You've just transformed everything for yourself.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, if you look back at the time before, do you think at that time could you even really see how good it is today? You know?
You know, if I knew what I knew today back then, oh, it's just such an exciting thought. So I just keep thinking, thank the Lord that it happened, because I keep thinking next 10 years are going to get even better. And, it's not about that bad doesn't happen to me. It's just perspective. And, I've had some awful things in this last year happen. My partner got diagnosed with bowel cancer. My stepdad had two heart attacks. but I kept faith, and I knew that things were going to be okay, and they are. And we live every day happy and knowing that we're grateful for what we've got. And, he's now in remission,
Oh,
he's much
good.
healthier. When we went, I said to him, I just know that you're going to be okay. I can't explain it, and I don't know how, but you're going to be okay. And when we walked into the operating room, not operating room, into the office where they sat him down to tell him, they said, if you're ever going to get a diagnosis of bowel cancer, this is it, because it is so early. It hasn't gone through any layers of skin. It's from one area that no lymph nodes have been affected, and we can literally cut it out in the next week and you'll be cancer free. You will not even have to have chemo.
Good.
And it was just like that. That's just so crazy, like how things like that happen. But before he had this, I knew. I said to him, I said, you're not well.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't explain it. I don't know why, but you're not well. And I really believed that I felt a shift in his energy health wise.
Yeah.
So we would do things together health wise, and it was just like he was more tired. He couldn't do certain things. And I could feel that there was a gap coming between us. And I just knew that it was that there was something not right. And then later it came out where he experienced some symptoms, and that was it. We was like, right, let's go now. And that's even what the doctor said. He said, is this the first time this has ever happened? This experience in the bathroom? And he said, yeah, it's the first time. But he was going to me, oh, it's fine. I'll be fine. I was like, no, I know. I feel it. Let's get you down to the
Yeah.
hospital. Everything's going to be okay, but let's just get it checked. And I'm so glad, because I really believe the person I was 10 years ago, had they been in that situation, they would have been, okay, well, see how you go on. See how you go. And the doctor said so many people do that, and then it ends up not being right because they're not respecting their bodies. They're not
Yeah.
listening to their insides. And that's what this body is: energy. Everything's energy and matter in life. We're made of two things, that the whole world is matter and energy. And that's it. And just understanding that everything is energy. And so if you feel anything, it's like we talk about our senses being our eyes, our smell, our taste, but actually it's not. It's our imagination. It's also those things, but it's our
Yeah.
imagination, it's our intuition, it's our gut instinct. All of those things are our senses. And it's just knowing. Um, in Iraq, there's these areas where there's these hogs, and they run across these fields,
Right.
and they've all got mines and bombs, but they just avoid them. So now the people there follow the trail from the hogs because they sense it,
Yeah.
because they're using their intuition and things like that. So you can learn a lot from the animals as well. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Not as drastic, but my dog can
Mm.
walk over when somebody else hasn't cleaned up after their dog without looking. So,
Yeah,
same sort of thing in a
yeah,
different, much less
yeah,
serious
no, for
way.
sure. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I don't know. I love that though, and it's yeah. It's I mean we had an
yeah,
episode a few weeks ago about your intuition, about developing your
mm,
psychic abilities and things like that, and really leaning into it and trusting it.
yeah,
It's cool just how much you inherently know if you will
yeah,
be calm and quiet enough to listen for a minute, right?
yes,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's just it. So you have a
yeah,
lot of exciting things coming up. You've got, first of all,
yes, yes,
you've got your art pages, which we're going to link everything
yeah,
as usual.
yeah,
Art pages, you've got this incredible manifestation group on Facebook, and you just started an
yes,
Instagram for that. And so
yeah.
tell us what is coming up, because I'm really excited. And this is
Right.
also
So,
like my favorite Facebook group. So just saying.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So, basically, my very good friend, Chelsea Meehan, who also does beautiful prints for affirmations for children and has done so for a period of time. Um, she approached me and she said, Gemma, I'm selling these, but I'm not selling the amount I want. So I started to link manifestation with it. And within like a month, she was selling 200 a month. And she was like, this is crazy. It's mad. So from this come this big idea. We were going to link our art together
Yeah.
and manifestation. So we have a really exciting project coming out. Obviously I can't go into too much detail because we haven't finished it yet, but it's
Yeah.
very exciting. It's going to be art and manifestation together, and it's just such an exciting journey to be going towards, because we feel like it's something that every age from 3 years old up to 103 years old can understand it.
Yeah.
It's very visual, and it's very exciting, and that's just such an exciting project to be working on. And we've also in September have some manifestation workshops coming up, which we are just going to be giving the basis on how to do the foundations, like the first 10 steps of how to manifest, so that you can really get the foundation strong.
Yeah.
So when you want to add on any of these other pieces, you become like basically a pro and start attracting that life you want. So yeah.
It sounds incredible. I mean, and you haven't released details yet on the workshops
No.
or anything, but if you are in the group, you're going to be the first to know, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So there is there is a little post in there about the dates and stuff like that. We just haven't got details in regards to where it is,
Right.
and like we've got the date and everything, just the place.
Right. Okay.
So that's going to be confirmed very soon.
And will people be able to? I mean, I understand you may not know this yet, but if people want to join like online, if they can't attend in person, will that be possible or to replay it later or something?
We will definitely have options.
Okay.
Where people, for example, if they want to but can't physically get there, they can have options to be able to do a one-on-one and have that paperwork that we provide and the tools. So yes, there will be options like that available
So
as well.
cool. It'll be
Yeah,
amazing. I do think it's like it is a tool that everybody needs. And whether or not
yeah.
you
Everyone can do it.
exactly, and I think that's the other thing is like whether or not
Yeah.
you actually believe in it, if you will, you're doing it every day, whether
Yeah,
you like
yeah.
it or
You
not.
can you can attract the life you don't want, or you can choose to attract the life you do want. And that's what I've always say. It's your heart, turning up and doing the hard but positive things. For
Yeah.
example, hitting the gym, treating your body with respect, eating well, or not going to the gym, not eating well. They're both hard.
Yep.
You just choose your hard, and
Exactly.
and that's what you attract.
Yep. Yeah, I think too,
So
like, because I don't know, we were talking about that a little bit in the group the other day, even. It's like,
yeah,
it's exactly like you say. I think, and you
yes,
had a really great post about it, right? And it's just, you know, I also think that the things worth doing aren't easy often. And
yes,
so,
yes.
you do have to put in that work no matter what it is. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I have PTSD. I am putting in the
Oh, right.
work to go, to work through it. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm back in therapy again now. Just continuing as different things come up. I'm putting in the work so I can be
Yeah.
like extra
This is
amazing
it.
in the future. I get up,
Yeah.
I work out
Yeah.
every single day. I walk my dog. I
Yeah.
I eat the good food. I eat my sugar too, but just don't tell. But
Yeah.
I quit
It's
smoking
all
two
in the
years
balance.
ago.
That's what we say.
Exactly. It's like, you pick your hard. The
Yeah.
the hard right now is going to make it easier in the long term, or you do
Yeah.
easy now and then you're going to
Yeah.
have it hard later, right?
Yeah. Exactly that. And also I think a lot of people can confuse healing and progressing as constantly working. But actually, you can have a lot of healing in just sitting still, taking
Yes.
some
Oh,
time and
yeah.
actually relaxing, like doing nothing, sitting in your own head and hearing yourself. And actually, sometimes that is the best form of medicine.
It's it's
You start
it's
realizing what it
true.
is you are and what you want.
I think, especially in the last 2 years, I've been really, really busy. But I've actually learned a little bit to like relax. And
Yeah,
that's been a hard thing for me because I've never been a
yeah,
relax. I'm like, no, you just go, 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 go until you're like,
yeah,
you can't, and then you just keep going. But
yeah,
I'm so happy that I am slowly learning. Like, okay, no, you can turn off your computer in the evening.
yeah,
You don't have to be working 24/7. You can sit and enjoy that book or just listen to music or you can meditate. You
yeah,
can all these things. It's like it is a huge part of the healing process, I think, is
yeah,
that
yeah.
quiet, that
Holding space.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And like even with when I think of myself, when, as you know, I've recently taken on, well, not recently, a couple of years ago, took on two boys in fostering, and now we've got full guardianship of these two boys. And it, when I first had four boys, I was like, four boys under 10, and everything was so like crazy, up and down, and we were finding our feet. And I just kept visualizing peace and being organized and being in a place of everybody knew they had a space in the house and
Yeah.
everyone felt safe to have a voice. And in those visualizations, I found so much peace because I started to really, every day as I see it, believe that that was the life we were living. And even though we weren't, and it was here, there, and everywhere, literally, that's what we are now. We're at peace. Like we just come together as a family. I would not have it any other way. We are a family that are just so slick, and we all know how things kind of go. And yes, we have our moments where something happens and it throws us off guard, but it's like we're calm. We're
Yeah.
actually really calm as a family. And it's crazy to think you've got four boys under 10,
It's
but
yeah.
I just envisioned myself as a calm mum. I just kept saying, like, in my head, I'm so calm, I'm in
I'm calm.
control. And with that, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it's I love it. And also it's just so amazing because my children say things that you just wouldn't expect. I have a 3-year old the other day, and he went running and he fell over, and he stood up, and before he was feeling some pain, and before he done anything he went, and he
Oh.
took 3 really deep breaths, and then he went, oh, that really hurt. But these are all the tools that I've taught him with the manifestation, the breath work, and holding space and sitting in the pain. Acknowledge it, give it
Yeah.
space, and take control. And they're learning that now, and they're unbelievable.
That's incredible, especially for three.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. And that was before he, really went for it. He was like, "Oh, that really hurt," and I was like, "Good for you." Good for you. You really controlled yourself there, and it was lovely to see that he didn't get hysterical and lose himself, because that's 9 times out of 10 what will happen.
yeah,
But yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing.
it's good. So many lovely tools to learn.
Yes, and I guess you'll be teaching lots of them at the workshops coming up
Yeah,
and through the
this is
group and everywhere else.
yeah,
So if
yeah.
we'll put links, but what is the best way for people to come find you if they're seeking
I
it?
would definitely say the Facebook page and the Instagram,
Okay.
for the manifestation, and I wouldn't say the Facebook page maybe for the art. I'd say more the Instagram page for the art, because the Facebook page is a lot quieter. So I'd say the art page on Instagram.
Okay. No, That's amazing. Um,
I hope I was okay.
you are okay. We're still recording,
Yes.
but
Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay.
You can throw that in. I like to be authentic. I like feedback.
No, it's totally perfect. No, this is amazing.
Okay.
If you had one piece of advice to give to somebody starting their journey, what would it be?
Mm. It would be hold empathy for yourself, because I don't believe many people are attracted to manifestation until they really feel, sadly, that they need it. So I'm trying to introduce it to people before they get to that stage. But for me, and for many people I've spoken to, they're usually going through something and they need it more so
Right.
than want it. And I think that makes the process slightly harder. So I would say, in anything that happens, just hold space for yourself and be empathetic and enjoy it, and just understand that nobody's got it figured out. Not one person. That person who's the top of the top of the top is in doubt and having moments of doubt, and they're just showing up for themselves that bit more and being a bit more consistent.
Yeah. And that's where the huge shift comes from. That's for sure.
Mm,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you so much for being with us today. I'm
Oh,
I
you're
am
so welcome.
excited. Everybody needs to start manifesting. So you need to come
Yeah.
join this group. You are going to have a blast being there. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you soon, Gemma. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you for having.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast. If you're looking for more, head to healthymetalhippie.com and let's connect. Until next time, wishing you a magical week. See you later.